Hi, what's happening?
बरोबर.
So, are you still in Ayodhya or have you come
No,
back,
no,
Janavi?
I'm back home. I'm in Chandigarh right now.
You're back home in Chandigarh. I see.
Yes.
So I have no idea where you actually live because the last time you told me you lived in Hyderabad. Before that, you lived in Bangalore. Before that, I think you were in Ahmedabad at Micah. I don't know what the hell is going on, but I'm sure there was a convenience store near you, right? Because today's topic is all about convenience stores. I just thought I'll set up a different sort of take on Janavi's movements over here.
Yeah, and I think this is a perfect setting because Chandigarh being a tier two city.
Ah,
Yeah, and the way the behavior is, I think I have a privy to the kind of consumer behavior we're going to discuss today.
yeah, and I think that you should not show off so much because even though I live in London, I used to also live in a place called Winchester, which was the first capital, I think, of England. But now it is a small town, really. So, well, let's compare notes. What do you have for us today?
Right. So we'll just set the context first. So if you would remember a few lives ago, we had discussed how the Q-commerce penetration is sort of
Yes.
stagnating,
Yes.
especially in the in the tier two and three cities of India because of a
Yeah.
limited total addressable market. So I think this topic now, this live is going to be more of an extension of it, or rather, you can say that there was a report done by PwC on the consumer behavior in the tiers one, two, three, and beyond cities of
Yeah.
India. And I think this is a very good corroboration, also an addition to the perspective of what we in that life.
Okay.
Uh, PW that despite the fact that e-commerce and Q-commerce is flourishing in the tier one markets, the tier two and beyond still prefer a lot of retail shopping, which is the kirana stores or small supermarkets, with around 34% people saying that prefer only offline shopping.
Ah, okay.
Right. So yeah. And there's just 21% people who say they prefer only online shopping, and most of them they prefer a hybrid sort of approach.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
think this is a very good segue into discussing what kind of goods do people still prefer to shop from a kirana store or from a supermarket or an offline retail store, and what kind of goods would they prefer for from an e-commerce or a q-commerce kind of thing, and what does these goods or what does the kind of transactions that happen tell us about the purchase behavior and the consumer behavior of a shopper on an average. So I would love to
Interesting.
hear your thoughts.
Yeah, no, firstly, let me ask you a question before we set this up. Like, because we belong to different generations, you are a Gen Zer, kind of hiding away as a millennial, and I am a Gen Xer hiding away as a millennial. So we are both millennials. So the, the thing is that I'm trying to understand from you. Okay, so here's the question. Um, would you I don't think that you'd have a problem ordering a meal on Zomato or Swiggy or
No,
whatever,
no, no.
right?
That's, I think I order one meal a day.
Right. Okay. I don't think you would you mind ordering just a coffee from a Blinkit or something like that?
I mean, I depends. Like if I'm staying in a hotel or don't have access to a kitchen, then definitely won't mind. But it won't. It'll be more of convenience. But I would obviously prefer to make it
Interesting.
if I can.
Yeah, no, so here's the thing. This is such an arbitrary line, right? That we all draw in the sand. Now, for example, I wouldn't probably ever think of ordering a coffee off Zepto or Blinkit or something like that. And I would have no compunction in asking for a meal. Now, I was just wondering, what is this imaginary line that we draw in the sand? Is it something of monetary value, or is it something to do with principles and values rather than value? Like, okay, you know what I'm saying, and it is really weird because I've
Yeah.
seen Gen Zers order absolutely openly, and just get one coffee from a Starbucks, and it's all cool, and nobody seems to be minding it or whatever. But I would struggle. So the reason why I asked this question is, if I look at the difference between, let's say, generations, even in an urban setting, and then if I compare an urban and a semi-urban or a tier two city with a tier one city, I think fundamentally my proposition is that it's cultural. I don't think that it is anything beyond anything goes beyond the culture. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely culture. It is a mix of practicalities. It is a mixture of. It is also an effect of, what your peers are doing, or what your day to day life is, or the time saving capacity, right? So if I have to compare the three generations, like my parents or my grandparents would just say, I'll talk in Hindi right now, कि ये क्या मंगाने वाली चीज है, I'll just make
Yeah,
it, right?
that's right. Exactly.
And I would probably get a lot of scolding
Yeah,
on this.
no, no, I get it completely.
Yeah, I would probably say that why should I pay 70, 80 rupees as a delivery charge for one small
Yeah,
cup, right? If it is like a larger vessel, if I am ordering for like 5, 6 people, then it makes
yeah.
sense to order online from maybe Chai Point or something. But I won't just order one cup and pay 200 for a cup and 70 rupees for a delivery charge. Not going to happen. But a Gen Z at the same time will probably be thinking, why would I go in the kitchen and waste half an hour in making coffee or tea? I would rather just, do whatever should I have to do, and let the Zomato guy come, take his
So
half an hour
do
and
you
come
think that the
whenever.
same thing plays out in tier two cities? It's time versus money.
For tier two, I think none of these three things
I
really
see. Okay.
apply. For tier two and beyond, I think it is more of an inertia.
Hmm.
uh, these people are really not in a habit of ordering online. For them, okay, I think one major thing is SKU, right? The tier 2 and 3 cities, they often go for very small
Yes.
SKUs. They either go for a cup, or, and secondly, they are not an individualistic mindset people. There's not just one person who's ordering something. If anybody orders, it's going to be for an entire family.
Hmm.
So whenever it's an entire family, it includes a lot of older people also, who would just crap on you for ordering something from
Yeah.
Zomato.
You think
Right?
that?
No matter how tired
Yeah.
you are, you would always expect a woman to go into the kitchen and then,
Hmm, man.
make
Okay.
the
You're
meal.
making a lot of friends here on progressive LinkedIn, by the way. Yes. Okay. Right. Okay. Yes.
You're just stating it as it
All right. Go
is.
for it.
Yeah. And secondly, it's also about the fact that the tier two cities really pay more attention to the sensory, sensory psychology. They want to touch and feel things while they are making it before they pay for
So
it, which is something that online ordering just doesn't
the
allow
reason why
us.
I was saying it's cultural, and allow me to elaborate this on, because I've had the privilege of seeing what happens in Winchester and compare it to what happens in a small town city here, right? And in Winchester, everyone still goes online much more than they would in a Kolhapur over here or whatever, right? So why does that happen? Because it is individualistic, and there is the climate factor, and you're not being judged for just getting a cup of coffee online by your elderly aunt sitting next to you, on a charpai or whatever it is. And I think that these things are making an impact, and I feel that somewhere it is going to, we probably are going to figure out very soon that bigger players cannot get into tier 2 cities or tier 3 cities, and that kind of connects us back to our earlier discussion very easily because of this inertia, which is essentially cultural. In my head, when you say practicality, it is actually emotional practicality as well, because I don't want to be judged by my aunt for getting something like this, right? I don't know.
Yeah. Now on this point, I would actually disagree with
Okay.
you, because you see, as somebody who stays outside of their homes, or as an individual people, we might refrain from ordering something for like 4 or 5 days.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, we are somebody who will end up ordering, because we are people who also end up going to parties and drinking, even if we are living in a very orthodox
Yeah.
families, right? So there's, again, we are in an inertia of ordering online,
Your
be it from Zomato
point.
or be it from
Mm.
Blinkit. Now, once we go home and do that, even after a week, the brand spreads across to our families. Maybe our parents don't try it, but our cousins try
Mm.
it, or their cousins try it, or some progressive family tries out. Now, the one biggest thing about a tier 2 or 3 cities is it is a very community sort of
Mm.
an area,
Mm.
right? If your neighbor is doing something, you will probably try it out, because you will find your neighbor very aspiring, or you would want to be a part of that community. So ultimately, maybe it'll take some time, but ultimately these companies will penetrate into the smaller towns. The biggest question is, how long will it take? Number two, who will be the first mover who will have the first mover advantage? Like we discussed, the second mover will have a lot of problem coming into the picture again. The biggest third question is, by the time these people penetrate into these small town cities, will they be able to keep leveraging their current growth despite the limiting total addressable market and stagnating growth? Will be able to survive until their penetration into this
Wonderful.
market?
And we
That
see a clash of generations and a clash of viewpoints over here between Janavi and I. This is really, really good. But I do see your point. I do see your point. I think that it could be a question of time before somebody makes an entrance into tier two or tier three. I'm just beginning to wonder though, and maybe that would lead us to part three of this juicy topic. Is I'm wondering what actually differentiates nowadays, because any retail store from the other, including kirana shops. And is it time, or is it money saved, or is it time saved, or is it customer relationships, or is it something else? And I don't know the answer to that. I don't think it is very easy to and I think that answer perhaps changes based upon generation, and it also changes based upon the size of the town and stuff like that. Because I do notice that even the moment you step in a bigger city, you start walking fast. I think time treats us differently when you're in a big city, and I'm sure you've noticed that when you move from Ayodhya to Chandigarh, and then you'll go back to Hyderabad and wherever else, and we will leave our poor joinees alone, or whoever listens to this podcast slash video later.
No, just a funny trivia over here. Even when we went to Ayodhya, despite the fact that there is not even an Ola Uber there, the first thing we did was check if Zomato works.
Who? When you say we, that is you and your generation.
No, I mean my parents and my
I
grandparents.
think
So yeah, that's the segue into why I think this ecosystem is gonna
fair
change
point, fair
soon.
point. I think Jahnavi is the technical winner on this debate. Let's give it to her, and let's call it a day today before I get beaten up once more. And we shall meet again. I think let's meet next Monday, because I'm now going with my parents for a holiday on Friday. But
Oh,
like you,
lovely.
I'll be going to a sensible hill station somewhere. Okay. All right. See you. Bye.
Okay.